Good morning, class. This class is for internationalization, and today the topic is neurological assessment. It's about of evaluation, neuropsychological evaluation. ¿Qué pasa? Okay, class, I don't know, but I have problem with my computer. I don't know what happened in this moment. I can change the PowerPoint. I don't know what happened in this moment. My computer is blocked. Oh my god, maybe I need to wait. Okay, Diana Marcela, no problem. Okay, good. And I don't know what happened with my presentation. Oh my god, the PowerPoint is blocked. I close this PowerPoint and open again. No. Dios mío, ¿qué pasa? Boys, I have problem with my computer. Maybe the PowerPoint no response. I don't know what happened. I closed the windows. Maybe it's for this. Okay. Escucho. You don't hear? Angie. Maybe you have problem with your audio. ¿Qué? Pero esto es un problema. Okay, reopen the diapositive, the PowerPoint. Ay, no, ¿qué pasa? I don't know, but I have problem with I have problem with my presentation. I don't know. Okay, finally. Okay, Angie. The class is recording. Maybe you see after the class, but it's very important if you listen a few about this class, because it's about of neuropsychological assessment. This is vocabulary very important for the neuropsychological assessment students. For example, brain damage, background family, brain injury, neuropsychological assessment, cognitive function, cognitive domains, processing speed, executive functions, emotional behavior, language, working memory, emotional behavior, ecological validity, brain plasticity. And now you search these words in your for traduction, okay? Search this word for traduction for know what is this about this word. Please traduction this word in Spanish for know what is the sense, what is the signification of this word. Brain damage, emotional behavior, background family, language, brain injury, working memory. Do you know about these words? What is the meaning? Students, for example, brain damage. What is this brain damage? Brain damage. Yes, a brain. Okay, brain damage is good. Valentina, good. Brain damage is daño cerebral. Good. Emotional behavior. Emotional behavior. What is this? Good, Angie. Good. And background family. Background. What is the traduction of background family? No, background. Background. Okay, good, good, Angie. And brain injury. Brain injury. What is this? What is the traduction or translator? Brain about of brain injury. No. No, Laura. Yes. Yes. Good, good, good. And brain injury, working memory. Working memory. Yes. Neuropsychological assessment. Yes, Angie, good. And cognitive functions. Cognitive functions. What is this? Domain cognitive or cognitive domains. Yes, domains cognitive is similar. It's very similar or cognitive function. Ecological validity. What is this of ecological validity? Yes, it's about of ecological validity is when the patient or the person have activities quotidianic. For example, do the coffee, eat the breakfast, and it's about of the life of the patient in the quotidianity. Okay, this is validation, ecological validity. It's about of the quotidianic of the patient. He can do the coffee. He can to do the coffee or not. He can to go to shower he can to go to out walking. This is validity, ecological validity, but after see this word and brain plasticity. Brain plasticity, what is the meaning of brain plasticity? Yes, good, Valentina. And finally, processing speed and executive functions. This is word very used in neuropsychology. Processing speed, executive functions. Yes, processing speed is velocidad de procesamiento. Good, good. And executive functions. Yes, Julian. Good, good, good. There are many names. Maybe it's very familiar because in this class we use it, this word. Okay. Go to the neuropsychological assessment. Good. What is the neuropsychological assessment? In this class, I think maybe it's very important the workshop for understand in English what is the neuropsychological assessment. And for this class, you watch the video and get two top ideas on neuropsychology and neuropsychological assessment to interaction in the class. Put the subtitles in English, please. Put the subtitle in English because this exercise help for your English. Put the subtitle in English so you can integrate listening with speaking. Time for this task, 15 minutes. 15 minutes for watch the video and get two top ideas or two main ideas about of the video. Okay, this is the video. Entonces, please watch the video and get two top ideas. I put the video in this part. Maybe you take the link for watch the video and watch the video here. You need put the subtitles in English, okay? It's very important.
You are now muted.
So today I wanted to talk to you about neuropsychological assessment. This is a big part of what I do for my work in addition to therapy and other kind of normal psychologist duties. I perform a specialized kind of subfield called neuropsychology. And I wanted to talk to you a bit about what that means because oftentimes when I see somebody for an appointment, they're confused about what exactly a neuropsychologist is and what a neuropsychological battery consists of because it's a big word and it's kind of confusing, to be honest. So just to be clear, a neuropsychologist is a psychologist. They are somebody who got their degree in psychology. If they're a neuropsychologist, that means that they got their PhD. So while you may refer to them as doctor, you might call me Dr. Duff, it does not mean that I have a medical degree. A psychiatrist would have a medical degree, and they would be focusing on medication for psychiatric problems, and a neurologist would have a medical degree. Basically, neurologists and neuropsychologists tend to work hand in hand, but they are different specialties. A neurologist is a medical doctor who focuses on the brain. So oftentimes you will start there if you have an issue like epilepsy, or you're wondering about dementia, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, anything that involves the brain. And you'll start with a neurologist, and often they will refer you to somebody like me, a neuropsychologist, to help clarify the picture. Now, a neurologist will do brain scans, maybe an MRI, CT scan, things like that, as well as lab work and some screening measures to get a general idea of what might be going on and to look at the structure of the brain. So they're looking at what the brain looks like and whether there are any obvious issues there, atrophy, damage, etc. What a neuropsychologist does is the opposite side of that coin. So rather than looking at the structure, we look at the functioning of the brain. Because even if you have a good picture of the brain, it doesn't tell you how well your memory is working, or what your attention is like, or how your language skills are. So that's what we do. We focus on trying to describe the functioning of the brain. And we do so through a variety of tests. Now, neuropsychological tests are pretty low tech. Sometimes we'll do a computerized measure, but for the most part, you'll be seeing a lot of things like this. So this is like a workbook. This is one particular test on memory. And so it has, I'm not going to show you all of it because it's kind of protected material, but for instance, in this one, we'll have a list of words that we'll have you remember. We'll have you remember a series of visual designs and a short story. And that tackles both the visual and the verbal side of your memory functioning. And we want to look at a variety of different things. So a neuropsychological assessment is typically fairly long. Our battery is about 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours. It can go up to 4. Some places even do a bit longer. For instance, down at UCLA, I know they do a longer battery across several days. And the point is to be comprehensive. So you look at all the different parts of the brain and their specific areas of functioning. And you want to look at it in multiple ways as well. So like I said, for memory, we want to look at both verbal and nonverbal memory. Likewise, we want to make sure that there's not an issue with attention rather than memory, because if you're not getting the information in the first place, you're not going to remember it. So we'll do tests of attention, tests of language, tests of overall intellectual ability, which is basically what you might think of as IQ, tests of processing speed, tests of multitasking, all sorts of different things. And so basically what you have when you do a neuropsychological battery is a series of really small tests. Each of them are just a few minutes each, but you do a big long series of them and then put them all together to make sense of it. So like I said, it's a lot of low-tech stuff like this. You might also see something like this, which are blocks. And this is just one particular nonverbal reasoning test. And basically what you do for this one is you look at a two-dimensional picture and you try to recreate it out of these three-dimensional blocks to see how your visual spatial skills are. So sometimes there's things that you manipulate, sometimes it's just verbal, sometimes it's in a booklet, but in general it's pretty low tech and it's a one-on-one sort of assessment. Now the way the whole process typically goes is that you would come in, it depends on the particular issue, but generally you'd come in, often you bring someone with you to have a secondary source of information, and you do an interview for about an hour or so, and you talk about what your issues are, what you're trying to get help with, what you're trying to understand. And then from there, you will be by yourself with the person who's assessing you, and you'll do 2-3 hours of testing. And then when that's all done, the way it works is we have a bunch of really big books like this, or computer programs that help us compare your scores to other people of your age and education level. So that's one thing that people often get wrong about these type of assessments. These are not like school tests where it's out of 100%. Almost nobody gets 100%. If you get 100% on one of these tests, you're a very far out there outlier. You'd be like the 99.9th percentile. So basically, the way this works is that there's an expected curve, and we want to see where you fall into that. So for your age and for your education level, is your performance average? Is it above average? Is it below average? Is there a deficit there? Oftentimes I'm testing older people who are worried about dementia, which is, a memory condition. And they'll say, well, I'm just getting older. I'm retired. This is normal. Well, that's what we look at. It's not just, we're not testing if you have any issues. We're seeing whether you have issues beyond what's expected for your age. And education level is important too, because obviously if you have lower education, things like vocabulary or other things will already be lower, and that doesn't indicate a change necessarily. So basically we go through all the assessment, the interview, then we use our books and computer programs to score everything up, and then we write up a report and talk to you about it and try to explain what that means. And everything follows a different pattern. For instance, if you have dementia, like I said, a memory issue, it can look different ways depending on what type of dementia that is. If you have Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, or a brain injury, they follow different patterns within the scores. Same for like attention, or even if mood, emotional difficulties are causing the problem, we can tell that as well. That's what we do. We basically interpret this data, write up a report, and work hand in hand with your other doctors to kind of guide treatment. So that's kind of the basics of neuropsychological assessment. It involves a little bit of everything to make a comprehensive picture of how your brain is functioning, how you're functioning mentally, emotionally, cognitively, all of that good stuff, that whole picture. So if you have any additional questions, please let me know, but that's kind of the gist of it. And if you have any other topics that you'd like me to talk about in regards to psychology, testing, etc., let me know.
Bueno, 5 minutos, esperar 5 minutos. Dios mío, ¿cómo me siento? No sé, es como entre cansancio, malestar, no sé ni qué puede ser.
Va al discurso, Valentino. ¿Vas a dar discurso? ¡Mua!
Ay, Dios mío. casi.
You are now unmuted.
Okay, finish. Please, two top ideas about this video. Angie, Belsi, Brian, Carolina, Diana, Julián, Laura, Lady, Paula, Silvia, Valentina, Ximena. Thank you. Please, Angie, give me two top ideas about this film, this video. Ximena. Paula, please give me one idea, and Silvia, no, Paula Andrea Contreras and Paula Cristina Santiesteban, please, each one idea about this video, please. Paula and Silvia. Angie, Julián, the neuropsychological assessment is usually very long. Yes, a battery can last between 2 or 3 hours. Yes, it's true. With the neuropsychological battery, the part of the brain with the neurological battery, the parts of the brain, their specific areas, and their function are evaluated. Yes. There are specific areas. Yes, is true. For example, the battery may be assessment, many functions, many domain cognitive, but there are batteries about of one part of the brain. For example, executive functions. There are battery that only assessment executive functions. Okay? Depend of the battery. But it's very long. Yes, 2 or 3 or 4 hours. For example, Test Barcelona is more or less 4 hours. Valentina, they are small tests that last a few minutes, yes, and that when the cells make sense, yes. There are a screening tests. A screening test is a small test when you evaluation much many cognitive domains. For example, language. For example, orientation. For example, motor behavior. For example, cálculo. Okay. Angie, he was giving us the main difference between the neuropsychologists and neurologists and neuropsychologists, determining the function of each, yes, while the neurologists does tomography, yes, physical brain function. The psychologist is in charge of looking for the reason for this manifestation, yes, through tests and communication with the patient. Yes, Angie. Good. Valentina, a neuropsychological test is necessary to find out if the brain is functioning properly at the mental, cognitive, and emotional levels. Good, Valentin. Okay, Valentina, good. Yes, this is neuropsychological assessment. There are screening tests, very small, few minutes, and there are battery tests, very long, 2, 3, 4 hours with the patient. It is different two forms of evaluation. Silvia, any problem that involves the brain will be referred to neurologists. Yes, is the first professional of health that the people go when there are the problems or there are the the yes, problem cognitive in the person. The neurologist is the first professional of health to evaluate its structure, and then to the neurologist to evaluate dysfunction. Yes, neurologist is the first professional that you go, because the neurologists study the functions about of brain in for physical. He used the tomography, axial and electroencephalography. There are the proof on neuroimaging is very important. This is the instruments of neurologics. Yes, this is the instrument of neurologics, but in neuropsychologists use the proof, the test neuropsychological, because this test assessment or evaluation, how is the function. How is, for example, memory? Do you have problem in your memory or not? Do you have problem in your language or not? And I can to evaluate the problems in the, for example, articulation. I evaluate two problems in the comprehension of language. This is the form with the neurologics and neuropsychological people works. For example, the neurologics send two neuropsychologic professional the clinical history about of the patient, because he need, how is this function is very bad, there are problems in this function, for example memory, and neuropsychology evaluate to the function with the neuropsychology tests. Okay, is the difference. Neurologics is a medicine professional. Neuropsychological or neuropsychology is a professional of psychology. Very good. Okay, this is very good. And maybe Diana Marcela Molina and Carolina Lopez, I need their ideas. Okay, very good this workshop. The neuropsychological evaluation process. The main objectives of the neuropsychological evaluation are: now, the impact of brain damage on the different cognitive function and the personality. Entonces, do you know the impact of brain damage? This brain damage change the cognitive function, change the personality, and I need to evaluation these areas. Contribute to the deeper diagnosis of neurological or psychiatric pathologies, especially in case where the neurological diagnosis does not discriminate sufficiently the effect of brain injury. The person is under ventilation. Okay, the neuropsychological evaluation is very important for discriminate sufficiently the effect of the brain injury. There are effects very bad in the brain when the people have a brain injury. For this is very important discriminate sufficiently with the test. With the test, I can evaluation this function, and I can to see the problem in my patient. Prepare specific rehabilitation programs for each patient, assessing the most affected weak points and the best preserved strong points. Okay, when I evaluation a patient in with my neuropsychological test, I prepare program specific rehabilitation program. I prepare. Why? Because I can see what is the problem in my patient. For example, my patient maybe he can to integrate the new memories. For example, HM Henry Molaison. Henry Molaison is a patient that he never can to integrate new memories. Okay, new memories he don't, because he have a problem very difficult, because his hippocampal organ is dead, no. For this, the problem in Henry Molaison was very hard, because he wasn't integrate memories news. For this, I prepare the rehabilitation program for my patient, because there are different problems in each patient, and I need to evaluate for know what is the problem in the cognitive areas, for I to prepare the rehabilitation program. It's very specific. The rehabilitation program is individually, because only people have different weak points or preserve strong points. And I need to evaluate these weak points or these strong points for to do the rehabilitation program. Okay? Do you understand this diapositive? Do you understand this idea? Yes, I know. Hacer. Yes, excuse me. Okay, again. The main objective of the neuropsychological evaluation are know the impact of brain damage on the different cognitive function and personality. In this idea, I know what is the impact of the brain damage in the domains cognitive, for example, memory, perception, language, noxis, motor behavior, and bueno, praxias. I evaluate different cognitive domains, and I evaluate the personality, because when there are brain damage, there are changes in the patient. There are changes in the cognitive function, and there are changes in the personality. For example, our patient's Phineas Gage. Phineas Gage changed the personality. Phineas Gage was a responsibility person, and he has a family, and he changed after the accident. He changed the personality, and he changed the cognitive domains. For this, I need evaluation this change about of the impact of the brain damage. I need to evaluation in cognitive and personality areas. Okay, there are tests about this change in the brain damage. The assessment, the neuropsychological assessment, contribute to the deeper diagnosis of neurological or psychiatric pathologies, especially in cases where the neurological diagnosis does not discriminate sufficiently the effect of brain damage or brain injury. Entonces, the neurological evaluation helps to discriminate sufficiently the effect of brain injury because the proof of the neurologic neuroimaging of, for example, electroencephalography or tomography axial, these proofs are good for neurologic, but there are cases when these proofs don't discriminate sufficiently the effect of brain injury. For this is very important the neuropsychological evaluation because it's most deeper in the diagnosis and prepare rehabilitation programs individually for only patients because there are patients they have a brain injury and the impact is very different in each patient. For this, I need assessment this patient with neurological evaluation for know how is the brain, the damaged brain or the brain damage. I need evaluation the brain damage. Okay, there are questions about this or these ideas are clear. These ideas are clear. Okay, I show you the diapositive in Spanish for help. Please watch the diapositive in Spanish, please. Okay. The main objective of neurological evaluation are: both of them constitute the framework on which the rehabilitation program is built cognitive, for which its identification through the neuropsychological evaluation. Okay, it's the same, no? It's very important for the rehabilitation program. Only patients have needs very different in their brain damage. Assess the evolution of the patient, both in case in which he has followed a program cognitive rehabilitation as in the assumption that you have not received any attention. In this case, the same. You need assess the evolution of the patient. You have a rehabilitation program with your patient and you need assess this evolution. If the patient evolution improve the scores, maybe the patient improve the scores or maybe not. And do you need assess this evolution? For example, I do the rehabilitation program and my rehabilitation program is not good for my patient, not good, and I need to assess if this rehabilitation program is good or not for my patient, or maybe my patient needs other activities in my rehabilitation program. Okay, and you need assess when your patient not receive any attention. This is very important because the neuropsychological assessment is very important for the rehabilitation program and when the patient not receive any attention. Okay? Use the diagnosis as a means to carry out expert and forensic evaluation in case of disability, accident, or impairment. Okay, in this case, for example, you are worker and you have an accident in your workplace. You need the access, neuropsychological access for evaluation about your problems, your cognitive problems. Okay, and there are many cases when these people go to a neuropsychology for assess their domains function cognitive, because for example, if you are working, maybe you have an accident, or perhaps you have an accident and you need assess you, because you lose the memory, you lose the cálculo, you lose the language, and you maybe you need go to money for your life. When the people lose the cognitive function, need pension, need help of the um, of the place worker. The patient need to retire because maybe in the accident in the workplace he lost the domain's functions and need to retire. Entonces, in this case, you need assess the neuropsychological evaluation. For example, in forensic areas, there are a person, a bad person, for example, there is a offender, a bad person, and you need assess the domain cognitive for you show this person is normal but is bad, or this person is unconscious of the his bad behaviors. Okay, in this case, a forensic case, you need the rehabilitation. This is the PowerPoint in Spanish. Please read. Okay. Neuropsychological validity. Ecological validity neuropsychological, an aspect of great importance in the consideration of the ecological validity applied to the neuropsychological evaluation. So again, we must appeal to the principle of validity process by Brunswick, 1955, to refer to the condition under which can make generalization from experimentally controllable situation to natural environment in which each person is. This concept is about of the assess neuropsychological assess. Maybe you do this neuropsychological assess in the laboratory or in your in your consulting room, and this is not the house of patients. This is not the natural environment of patients. This is a concept about of refer is very important the evaluation about of natural environment of the patient, because I am no I assess a patient in my consulting room, but this is very different that I ask about the natural environment. Is very different. I can to assess a patient in his natural environment, okay? It's a concept. Okay, neuropsychological assessment. The goal is, or the goal are, brain damage in cognitive function and personality. This is a abstract or summary of all ideas. Brain damage in cognitive function and personality. Brain damage in ecological validity. This is the daily, everyday activity and culture, because the culture is very important. The different culture concept the brain damage very different. For example, in Colombia, the dementia or Alzheimer disease is concept very different than India. For example, in India don't exist the mental sick. In Colombia, yes. DCM5 is the manual of the people use for diagnosis in this case, but neuropsychological assessment, but neurologic assessment is very different in the culture, the brain damage. Okay? Contribution to diagnosis neurological and psychiatrical when the neuroimaging don't answer about of brain damage. It's important for this. To prepare rehabilitation programs, very important students. To prepare rehabilitation programs, this is very important. When you assess your patient, you can to prepare the rehabilitation program because you know what is the need of your patient. You know with this neuropsychological assess, and for this you need to use 2 or 3 neuropsychological assess for know how is this function, for example, memory, language in your patient. Maybe your patient need a rehabilitation program in memory. Maybe your patient need a rehabilitation program in language, okay? It's very important this objective or this goal to prepare rehabilitation programs individually for only patient and their damaged brain. Assess the evolution of the patient. Important, yes. Use the diagnosis as a means to carry out an expert forensics of disability, accident, or impairment. Neuropsychological assessment. Okay, this is other tags you watch the video and you answer this question: what are the domains of cognition that the neuropsychological must evaluate? Write the sentences of each cognitive domains that the presenter evaluates. For example, for the memory that the presenter evaluates question, I am going to read. Okay, this is a example, but after do this activity. Now, this is the levels of interpretation of the neuropsychological assessment. Level diagnosis, psychometric and cognitive. This is two forms or interpretation the test. There are psychometric evaluation, assess the results of obtained in neuropsychological tests based on statistical criteria, comparing them with a determined normative reference population. Results are expressed in standard scores, radius, percentiles, etc. It is a quantitative diagnosis. This is a focus in the neuropsychological assessment, psychometric. This is a focus. There are cognitive focus, okay? Are two, is different. Psychometric have a proof with a normative reference. There are people that I have uh, I have words about of my population, and I compare the results with a person. I compare with a normative reference population. I compare, and my interpretation is about of normative reference population. Yes? And cognitive interpret deficit from a cognitive points of view, trying to discern what cognitive functions are involved in each case. Example: loss of ability to build puzzles. It can be understood as a form of constructive apraxia, associated with a spatial structuring problems. It is a qualitative diagnosis. This is different, but very important for neuropsychology. For example, psychometric is a quantitative diagnosis. Why? Because I use the normative reference population, quantitative. There are statistical criteria. And in the cognitive, no. In the cognitive, you see the rendimiento, pero wait me, this word, I don't use rendimiento cognitivo. Cognitive performance. I evaluate to cognitive performance in each case, but not there are reference, not there are normative reference, not there are statistical criteria. This is other form. And this is qualitative diagnosis. I can to see my patient with cognitive performance, and I interpretation this cognitive performance. Okay, it's very different. Psychometric focus and cognitive focus. There are different forms of assess the patient. Neurofunctional. Try to relate the results obtained with the brain areas involved, establishing working hypotheses. Example, relaxed compression language problem with brain areas presumably involved left hemisphere, Wernicke's areas, fascicles arched, etc. It is a qualitative diagnosis. Neurofunctional use the part of the brain for interpretation the problem in the patient. Is similar to cognitive focus, and ecological form is extrapolate and weight the psychometric and cognitive results and neurofunctional values obtained based on the circumstance of each subject, previous personality, cultural level, motivation, personal, social, and family environment. It is a qualitative and dynamic approach. Your paradigm is always n equal 1. This is when I individualize the patient. I study not only his results or his scores of the proof. I need to study the patient in his family, in his culture, in his work. Entonces, this is an individually evaluation. Okay? There are questions in this part. Clear, teacher? There are questions in this part: cognitive, psychometric, functional, and ecological focus. Are questions about this focus? Not sure? Okay. Okay, the neuropsychological assessment have many parts. Anatomy methods, neurosurgical techniques, commisurotomy, craniotomy, nerve tissue ablation, hemispherectomy, double dissociation, interhemispheric dissociation, intrahemispheric dissociation, brain anesthesia, WADA and memory test, WADA and language test. This is methods of neurologic professional. Okay, but we know about these techniques for now, but I never do the commisurotomy. Never. I'm not medicine. I don't practice these techniques. No craniotomy. This is of neurological techniques. I'm never hemispherectomy. I never to do hemispherectomy because it's not my camp of action. Okay, but this is important for know how work the brain. Okay, this is very important. Neuroimaging techniques, functional neuroimaging. This is a techniques of neurological professional. Registre techniques, electroencefalografía, potenciales evocados. Psychological techniques, oh my god, this is in Spanish. Campos visuales separados, escucha dicótica, test dicáptico, step de lateralidad. These techniques may be see most these techniques in other class, okay? Neuropsychological tests, screening scales, and neuropsychological scales. Screening is a proof very faster, a few minutes the patient finished this proof. Neuropsychological tests. The history clinical practice offers several advances in the context of neuropsychological evaluation. They measure higher cognitive functions they measure higher cognitive functions such as attention, memory, language, concentration, learning, executive function. Neuropsychological clinical history. They are preset by clinical history where various aspects are investigated, such as this is a form of clinical neuropsychological clinical story. It's very important for know the patient. I need to take this data. It's very, very important. Sociodemographics, name, age, sex, studies, profession is very important. Behavioral and neurological history, illness of the patient, accidents of the patients, consumption of toxins in the patients, exposures to heavy metals in the patient, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and old age, drugs used. Very important. I need this data for understand my patient. Family background, the size in background with the family, especially those of hereditary types. This is very important. Family background is explain about of illness of the patient, because, for example, the mother have epilepsy and the son have epilepsy. It's a genetic form. Epilepsy have a genetic material. For this is very important the family background, because there are mental illness in the family, and the second generation take this material genetic and desarrolla and develops this illness. For this is very important the background family. Neuropsychological clinical story, genogram, current lifestyle, physiological, diet, sleep, physical activities of the subject, academic and work, study work, social, friends, social relationships in general. Okay, the lifestyles is very important to evaluate for know my patient. How is the lifestyle of my patient? It's very, very important. Diagnosis, diagnostic impressions accompanied by a description of the person's condition. Okay, the diagnosis is my impression diagnosis, but I need do the proof, I need send the patient with the neurologic, I need other professional for do the diagnostics. But my impression diagnostic is when I study the patient, but not profoundly, but I see change in the personality, because his mother told about the patient, or maybe I see stranger things in his behavior on or in his or in his cognitive actuation. For this, I have a diagnosis impression, but not diagnosis. Not diagnosis, because for diagnosis I need other professional in health. Neurological and neuropsychological tests. After this, I think about my patient need to evaluation or assessment with neuropsychological tests, and I think what test is very good for my patient, what test maybe can to assess profoundly this patient in the cognitive function or in behavior change. And for this, after the history clinic, I can to review what test is very good for my patients. Treatment plan. Treatment plan is about of rehabilitation, cognitive rehabilitation, emotional rehabilitation, social function rehabilitation. This treatment plan is about this rehabilitation. And when I have a patient, I have a clinical story, assessment with neuropsychological tests, and after of this I have a rehabilitation program. Neuropsychological tests. Neuropsychological techniques have long been accused of overestimating the incidence of brain damage on cognition. The advent of neuroimaging functional testing has shown that the false positive identified in neuropsychological tests were actually true positive. Before neuroanatomic techniques don't show the damaged brain, that the neuroimaging functional tests yes show them. What is this? The neuropsychological test is very specific. There are moments with the neuroanatomic techniques don't show the damaged brain, but the neuropsychological test yes. In this case, the neuropsychologist was were were misjudged but because the neuropsychological tests are very specific, but neuroanatomic techniques may be done show the damage, and for this is very important the use of the neuropsychological tests. Neuropsychological tests. Early neuropsychological batteries assumed that brain injury produced a global impairment of higher mental function, and for this reason, they tried to identify the possible organicity, that is, degree of brain dysfunction, through tests specific such as the Bender test. After the Second War, new psychological tests were developed that measured more than just simple organicity, understood as a global loss of cognitive capacities, but rather the localization of brain function in specific areas of the brain. From that at time, two neuropsychological currents emerged, the European represented by Goldstein and Luria, with a more qualitative and individualized approach, and the American more quantitative and psychometric. For this, after the Second World War, the neuropsychological tests develop were developed for evaluation these patients. The World Health of Neuropsychological Discipline, because when are the war no when was the war, the knowledge about of brain is improved or was improved. Neuropsychological assessment. The neuropsychological examination must be preceded by a personal and family interview as a means of knowing the anamnesis of the subject. Yes, before the assessment, you need the historical, clinic, neuropsychological. You need the interview with her, with your patient and their family. Okay? Uh, Before the assessment, before you need take a data about of the patient and their family. It's very important. You don't assess without not the patient is bad. You need the family interview. You need to do the historical, clinical, neuropsychological or neuropsychological clinical story, because you need know about your patient, but not assessment, please. The clinical history and the study of personal and family anamnesis acquire an essential value in the diagnostic process neuropsychological, since they provide very useful complementary information to know what was the situation prior to the damage, thus facilitation the preparation of more specific rehabilitation programs. This is a vendor. This is a vendor before World War II. This is a test of screening for evaluation the organicity. Is used today in, for example, in praxias for evaluation the motor in constructive praxias. You use the vendor test. It's a gestalt test. Screening scales. They are a cognitive screening method that is used as preliminary step to in-depth neuropsychological examination, and also in those cases in which it is necessary to perform a global assessment of the deterioration carried out quickly. These screening scales we use before the battery. Use before the battery because maybe these screening scales show the problem in the cognitive function. For this, the first part is the neuropsychological clinical story, and after you do the evaluation with screening scales. It's very easy, it's very quicky, it's a global assessment, perform a global assessment of the cognitive function, but it's very easy. And after of the screening scale, you use the battery neuropsychological scales. Okay, the first step is screening, and after you profoundly in the cognitive function for evaluation. All two initially used as a mechanism to measure the degree of deterioration in dementia process, but have the disadvantage that they offer an excessively global overview of deficits, being impressive to achieve the identification of local deficit. This is an advantage because it's very global but not very specific. For this, the battery is very specific. You can use screening scales and after a battery, neuropsychological battery. For example, mini mental state examination is a proof or is a test very screening. You know about this test. The mini mental state examination is undoubtedly the most widely used neuropsychological screening instrument in clinical practice. It was devised for Folstein in 1975 and offered a panoramic view of the cognitive performance of the subjects, being especially useful in cases where there is a risk of dementia. This is a proof about of dementia, of this risk of demencia o deterioro cognitivo, impairment cognitive level. This is a mini mental scale examination. Please name the year, season, date of week, month, orientation. Where are we? State, city, suburb, hospital, floor, ward, orientation to place. Orientation to time, orientation to place. I am now going to test your memory. Name 3 objects. Ask them to repeat all 3. 1 point for each object. Remember, repeat until learn all 3 so that recall be tests. Okay, there are very functions. For example, orientation to time, orientation to play, registration, memory, alternatively, this is cálculo, alternatively, cálculo 100, please count backwards from 100 in sevens, 1993 in sevens, this is for cálculo, simple cálculo. Spell word, attention and calculation. Recall, recall for memory. Naming of objects, repetition de frase. Complex command. Please follow with this command. Take this paper in your right hand, fold it in half, and place it in your lap. This is a complex command. For comprehensive language, please read and obey the following commands. Close your eyes. Please write as sentences. Okay, this is a mini mental default state. Cambridge exam. It is a psychiatric diagnosis test that is preferably used for the evaluation case. Okay, I go to other screen, for example, this. Montreal cognitive is very used. It's very used in this moment for screening because it's very complete. You can see the video. Please watch the video about the evaluation with MOCA.
You are now muted.
Number 1, draw a line from Hello, sir.
Sir, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Okay.
Good. Well, I'm glad to have you back in the clinic. When you were here Oh, a few weeks ago, we were looking into some eye problems that you were having, but during that visit, we were also talking about your memory, and you had expressed some concern about your memory, and we did a short test in the office that suggested we might want to look into your memory a little bit more. So we're here today to do that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with some questions, and these questions require a little bit of concentration. Some of them are easy, some of them are more difficult. Okay? So I just want you to do your best, and if you can't hear me or you need anything clarified, just ask me any question you want to.
Good enough.
Okay. I'm going to give you a pencil first, okay? And I want you to look up in this corner.
All right.
What I want you to do is draw a line from a number to a letter in ascending order. Start at number 1, draw a line from 1 to A to 2, and so on, and end here.
So we got A, 1 to A, 2 to B.
Yes, exactly. Can you do that now?
Yep. 1 to A to 2, 2 to B, B to 3, 3 to C, C to 4. Wow. Four to D, D to 5. How's that? Oh, and again.
Good. I told you some of these were a little bit tougher than others.
Okay.
You see this design here?
Yep.
I want you to draw that design in the space provided below.
All right.
Okay. In this space, I want you to draw a clock for me. Make a big circle and put all the numbers where they go. And now, Sam, I want you to set the time for 10 past 11.
This is 10 here.
Okay. Okay. I'll take the pencil back for a minute. Now I want you to tell me the name of this animal.
Lion,
What's the name of this one?
rhinoceros,
How about this one?
camelorino, camel.
Okay. Good.
I just thought I'd make them an Italian.
Are you ready for the next thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next thing is that I'm going to read you a list of words. And I want you to concentrate because I want you to remember them now and later on. Okay?
I'm bad at that.
That's okay. This is just do the best you can. Okay? So listen carefully to the words and then you say them back to me in any order.
Okay.
Okay? Here are the words. Face, velvet, church, daisy, red. Go ahead.
Face, velvet, daisy, church, red.
Perfect.
Face, velvet, church, daisy, red.
Yeah? So I'm going to read them a second time, and just like the first, repeat them back to me in any order, including the ones that you said before. Okay? Here's the same list again. Face, velvet, church, daisy, red. Go ahead.
Face, velvet, daisy, church, red.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to remember those again a little later.
Sure you will.
Okay. Here's the next one. I'm going to say some numbers, and I want you to say exactly what I say. You repeat the numbers back to me. Okay? Are you ready to hear them? 2, 1, 8, 5, 4.
2, 1, 8, 5, 4.
Okay. Next, I'm going to say some more numbers, but this time, when I'm done, you say them backward. Okay? So you say them in the backward order. 7, 4, 2.
247.
Okay. Now, can I get you to put a hand on the table here? I'm going to read a sequence of letters. And every time I say the letter A, I want you to tap your hand like that.
Okay.
Okay? Tap your hand to practice.
Every time you say the letter
A. Yeah. You're going to tap your hand. Okay?
Okay.
When I say a different letter, do not tap your hand.
When you say the letter A,
You tap your hand.
okay.
But only tap to the letter A.
Okay.
Okay? Can you give me a practice tap? Okay, good. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. F, B, A, C, M, N, A, J, K, L, B, A, F, A, K, D, E, A, J, A, M, O, F, A, B. Okay. You ready for the next thing?
Yeah.
Okay. I want you now to count backward by sevens from 100. So start with the number 100 and count backward by sevens.
Can anybody do that?
Well, I told you some of these are harder and some of them are easier.
By 7.
Yep.
Okay, 100 minus 7 is through 93.
Okay.
93 minus 7 is, you're talking about math, not the.
Mm-hmm.
93 minus 7, 73. 84.
Okay. Keep going.
84 from 7, 7, 74.
Keep going.
Okay,
You are now unmuted.
okay, the video is finished. I need to watch the evaluation with Mocha. And in this moment, there are acts about this team or about the ideas, or for example, what is the assessment, the neuropsychological assessment about of the information in this class. Okay, the lesson is finished, but while you write this question, I take a list. Is it a process to evaluate the areas and process of the brain? Yes. Is it? Yes, and for example, in Mocha, it's very quickly. It's very global evaluation, but there is more specific for the cognitive domains. There are battery more specific. Tomorrow is the class about of neuropsychology, older neuropsychology. But after you see other proofs about of dementia. Dementia, for example, is very studied for the neuropsychological focus because dementia is a illness or syndrome very important for neuropsychology. In this case, I use MOCA, maybe a screening proof, or it's better that I use battery more specific in neuropsychological cognitive domains. Yes? For this, Julian, it's very important remember that screening is very global evaluation and battery is more specific about of the cognitive functions. But MOCA is a preliminary examination to later evaluate the area in the... Yes, it's perfect, Julian. Good, Julian. Bueno, and now I take the list. Ardila Sierra Laura Camila. Bien. Ximena Vanessa Asensio Chávez. Bien. Paula Andrea Soto Contreras Soto. Paula y Paula. Las dos Paulas, Santi Esteban y Contreras. Julián siempre participando. Carolina López Galindo. Muy bien, gracias. Muy bien, Julián. Es muy bueno que participes. Y Diana Marcela Molina Cruz. Brian Andrés Moreno Marroquín. Brian. Sí, Diana.
Presente, teacher.
Ok. ¿No tuviste hoy problema de luz, Brian?
No, teacher, todo good.
Menos mal. Chicos, una pregunta. ¿Ustedes entendieron la clase? Bueno, cualquier cosa que no hayan entendido, en la próxima clase la despejamos, ¿ok? Bueno. Sí, es que es difícil. Bueno, Leadi Sofía Quintero Mesa. Leadi Sofía, muy bien. Leadi Sofía. Paula Cristina Santiesteban. Angie Paola Triviño. Angie también participa bastante. No sé, Paula Santiesteban. Paola no han escrito nada. Muy bien. Belsi Tatiana Velázquez y Silvia Valentina Zavala. Belsi Tatiana y Silvia Valentina. Valentina, ay, qué pena. Pero ella participó bastante, o sea, no hay problema. Valentina siempre participa. Listo, chicos. Por favor, recordarles, por favor. Mañana por Zoom, por favor, estar puntualitos. Es una doctora muy importante de México, entonces pudimos conseguir desarrollar esta clase con ella, neuropsicología del envejecimiento. Cuando veamos demencia, volvemos a ver las pruebas y vemos entonces la parte de pruebas a mayor profundidad. ¿Listo? Bueno, ok. Bueno, entonces que tengan feliz tarde y estamos hablando. Cualquier cosa en la próxima clase la terminamos de revisar, ¿ok? Listo. Bueno, chao chicos, que estén muy bien.
Profe,
Dime.
¿me puede dar unos 5 minuticos, por favor?
Sí, claro. Si quieres, escríbeme por ahí, por acá, por la mensajería.
Profe, lo que pasa es que yo soy de la noche. Bueno, es que mi compañera Carolina me prestó el user hoy. O sea, ella también se conectó, pero soy dos Carolinas. Y ella me prestó el user pues para entrar porque yo trabajo hoy turno noche. Entonces trabajo de 3 de la tarde a 9 de la noche. Y pues yo tengo clase contigo en la noche.
Ah, pero ¿tú quién eres? ¿Tú eres Carolina?
Valentina Farasica.
Ah, Valentina Farrasica. Sí, tú a veces faltas. He visto.
Sí, entonces por eso es que a veces por el trabajo y eso, entonces como que por eso me toca por la mañana.
Ya. Ah, bueno, listo, Carolina, pues recuérdame con alguna de tus compañeras porque a veces la memoria
Eso
es
es listo.
muy regulimbis. Tú recuérdame, profe, ya asistió por la mañana.
Ah, ok, listo, profe, dale, muchas gracias. Hasta
Bueno,
luego.
listo. Bueno, chao pues.